And our next question comes from Karen Tate from boxing.com. Karen, your line is open.
Thank you. Andre, great to talk to you today. Thank you for taking the time. I just have a couple questions for you. Some people imply that when you fight, you generally play it kind of safe. But to me, it looks like you're usually applying a lot of pressure, whether you're fighting on the inside or the outside. And it seems like you're often ahead of your opponent mentally as well. Would you say that's accurate?
I will say that's a very, very accurate assessment. I honestly don't. I take that back. I do know what they want. They want blood. They want you knocked down. They want you staggered. And
hello there. Does everybody hear me now?
Yeah. Hold on, Mike. I'm trying to answer a question.
Okay.
I've studied this sport for many, many years, and if you go back and look at old footage of Roy Jones, you go back and look at old footage of Bernard Hopkins, you go back and look at old interviews and old footage of Floyd Mayweather, and even obviously currently with Floyd because he's still he's retired but somewhat active in the last few years. It's the same kind of things that were said, and those three guys are legends. Those three guys are Hall of Famers, and you just can't worry about it. You understand that some people will get it, and you understand that some people won't, but you have to do what you have to do, and that's what it boils down to. Some people won't like it, and again, some people will. But as you just mentioned, I couldn't have explained it any better than you did. So that's encouraging to know that some people do get it and appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And as a follow-up to that is, when you're displaying that in the ring, is that something that comes to you in the moment, or is it something you work on in training specific to an opponent?
I think it's a little bit of both. Some of who you are, a lot of who you are is who you are. It's who you've been, all these years, and that's kind of set. But then I think what separates, fighters a lot of times is who can make the adjustments, and those adjustments start in the gym. One thing I love about my coach is he's not enamored with what I do well. He acknowledges it, but he's more concerned. He starts where he feels I can be beat. He starts where he feels I'm susceptible to get hit, or something can happen. That's where he starts to train me from that point. And because he's always challenging me, and because he's not enamored with what we've done, and he's always tweaking and just always causing me to get better and add a new wrinkle, and then those things show up in the fight. So, as long as I've been fighting, I come in the gym, and a lot of times I feel like, I'm just starting out because it's always something he's working on, something we're trying to get better at. And then again, they show up when you need them if you put the time in.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Thank you so much, Andre. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Virgil, are you flying as well?
Oh, Virgil couldn't join us today. Thank you. And once again, if you do have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone phone. Michael, do you want to repeat your answer to the last question?
Just very quickly, we're very optimistic about the pay-per-view numbers. We've got two great fighters. This is a 50-50 fight, the biggest fight of the year, and arguably on paper, the biggest fight of the last decade. So we would be very disappointed if it wasn't the biggest pay-per-view fight of 2016.
Thank you. And once more, if you do have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone phone. And our next question comes from Eddie Golden from No Holds Barred. Eddie, your line is open.
Thank you very much. Hi, Andre. I would just like to know, in your words, what we should know about your style and what we should be looking about in your fight that is overlooked in some of the more simplistic explanations of it and previews of it.
That's a tough one. Sometimes, it's tough. Like, some things are caught and not taught, and that means basically, like, I can't explain, what my style is. I don't really have a set style. I feel like if you see it and you understand it and you know what's going on in there, you kind of do, and if you kind of don't, then I don't know if there's anything that I can say to anyone that could, that can make them understand. I mean, I'm just, it's tough to describe. It's not really something that's describable.
Well, you mentioned earlier, some people understand somebody throws a big punch and gets a big knockdown or a knockout. A lot of people understand that. But what would you like people to understand better about the use of angles, infighting, defense, all that kind of stuff that gets overlooked and people just expect wild brawls?
I mean, I just think, taking me out of the equation, just as a whole, like, boxing has never just been about one thing, and it just seems to me that, in this day and age that, the public is sold that if it's not a knockdown, drag-out fight, or if one guy's not, his ear's not hanging off, that it wasn't worth your time or your money. And I don't think that's fair to the fighters. I don't think that's fair to the fans. Hardcore fans, they kind of got, they know who they like, they know what type of style they like, and, for the most part, they're going to tune in and they're going to buy tickets. But, the casual fans, I feel like that turns the casual fan off when they're not being educated on what they're looking at, or if they're reading things that, that are always whipping one type of style, one type of fighter. Now, it's one thing if a guy is just completely reluctant, doesn't want to throw, and it's clear that he doesn't want to be in the ring. But if a guy has a particular style where he has nuances, sometimes he fights, sometimes he boxes, whatever the case may be, I feel like, the general public should just be educated on what they're looking at. And I feel like, that's going to enhance and empower the sport. I'm a casual, MMA fan. I have a couple of friends that are in the sport, but I don't really necessarily know what I'm looking at, and I've never heard, anybody in the MMA really trash their fighters. Even if they got 2 or 3 losses, they may say things like, hey, this guy his stand-up isn't very good, but then if he gets you on the ground, you're going to have trouble. And as a casual fan of MMA, that makes me want to stay engaged and makes me want to keep watching and keep tuning in, because I've just been educated about something that I didn't know anything about. And I feel like it could be the same way with boxing.
And lastly, do you have any prediction? Go ahead.
It's about a victory, man. It's about a victory. It's about getting my hand raised, and I'm not leaving Las Vegas without those belts. That's what it boils down to. And however we got to get it that way. But I don't have any predictions. I've never been a prediction guy. I just know I'm ready, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to fight.
Okay, thank you. Good luck in the fight.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Jason Gonzalez from MaxBoxing.com. Jason, your line is open.
Thank you, Conley. What's up, Andre? How you doing? I'm doing good. Cool. Just, Andre, 2 questions. The first question, it's no secret you had some detractors in the past. Do you think you may have won them over based on what the general public learned about you and your family from the documentary that was aired on HBO, which was terrific, by the way? Man, thank you for that. It's a real vulnerable moment. I haven't talked about that at all, really, for a lot of reasons. But I appreciate that. But in terms of, listen, if anybody's read, heard about my story and became a supporter, or previously was a detractor and became a fan or supporter, man, I welcome that. I'm appreciative of that. I've done that where I generally knew about a guy that then heard a story and became a big fan. Dak Prescott is a perfect example. Like I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan by any means, but I admire his talent on the field. But then I heard a story. I truly became a supporter and somebody who appreciates where he's come from. So I appreciate that, but by no means am I trying to necessarily win anybody over. I mean, the detractors are there, man, and they're going to be there, and they're there for different reasons, and it's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like you or appreciate you. But I am thankful, man, and appreciative of my story in some kind of way, touch somebody. That's a good thing.
Cool. Now the second question, Andre. Back in 2012, when Floyd was retired and you had fought Chad Dawson and got the victory, a lot of the pundits was looking at you as the best fighter pound for pound. With that being said, do you think it's a little strange that this is going to be the first time you fight in Vegas? Shouldn't that have happened before?
I mean, I definitely tried to make it happen. Being close to Vegas, in theory, I feel like it should have happened. But and I've also always wanted to fight in New York City, at Madison Square Garden or the Barclays. But it just didn't happen for one reason or another, And but I'm just happy, man, that it's happening now. And what better time than right now at this stage of my career for this moment. And you just got to trust, the guy that's playing, man. It's not always what you want it to be or when you want it to be. But, I can't argue with the way that the stage is set and the way that the table is set right now. So I'm just excited about, seizing this moment.
Andre, thank you for your time. Best of luck on the 19th of November. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, brother.